Hey there! Are you brave enough to come with me as we try to survive the post-apocalyptic world of Mutant Year Zero?
Alright guys, today we're going to take a look at Mutant Year Zero, role-playing at the end of days, by Free League Publishing, one of my favorite publishing companies. Anyway, let's take a look at this. This is a really cool game. This is kind of, Year Zero is where most of the game mechanics come from Free League. They use the Year Zero engine, which is a D6 dice pool, which most of their games use, except Dragonbane and something else. I can't quite remember right now, but this was the first game that they came out with, and it's this really cool post-apocalyptic setting. I really love it. So yeah, it's a storytelling game, which most of their games are, very rules light, D6 dice pool mechanic. So you play as mutant creatures that have survived this apocalyptic Earth setting. It's not too far from when the apocalypse happened, because you actually have an elder in your ark or home base of some sort that is remaining from the before times, before the whole world fell apart, which makes it kind of cool that it's kind of recent apocalyptic. So there's just some general rules about role-playing and what do you do and that kind of thing. So we'll just kind of skip that. It talks about the mutant card deck, which you don't need. You can just use the roll tables in here. I guess there were some cards at some point when it first came out, but I don't have those because I recently got this game. I didn't start with this game. Free League, my first game was Dragonbane, and then I liked that, and I got some other stuff. So first things up, you're going to roll your mutant, and I really love this one with the Jason mask, which is kind of the point of this is that you're going to find a lot of cool scrap and pre-apocalypse artifacts and things that you can use and bring back to your ark or your home base. So it's really easy to make a character. First, you'll choose your role, which is not a character class. It's more of an archetype, loose idea with like one skill kind of attached to it. Choose your name, your appearance, distribute some points across your 4 main attributes: strength, agility, wits, and empathy. And then you're going to have 10 points to distribute among a couple skills to kind of make every character a little bit unique. And then you'll choose a talent, get 1 starting mutation, define some relationships, which is big in all the Mutant Year Zero. You'll kind of have a buddy, rival kind of thing. That's almost in every game. And those kind of people can relieve stress or depending on what system you're using. And then it has create the arc and then describe kind of where you are on the arc, but you don't have to. I recently played a solo game, so before they got to the arc is kind of that story that I'm kind of telling. I went on a trip abroad recently, and so I played solo on the airplane, which was really cool. So let's go through here. Here's a character sheet. So here's the attributes I kind of told you: strength, agility, wits, empathy. You'll have a number there, and then you have the damage for each one. So as you fill up on this, that kind of represents your damage, and you're going to be able to heal that throughout the game. And then you have some conditions and then your skills. And we'll kind of get into that when we roll dice. And then just some relationships, some gear. And then how to develop your mutant, get some experience. So kind of like Dragonbane at the end, you're just going to answer a couple questions. And then the GM will give you probably 3 or 4 points or something like that you can add to your character and level them up just a little bit. So here's the archetypes. You get the Enforcer, which is kind of this big broody guy. It gives you a couple ideas for some names. Your key attribute. So that's what you're going to typically want to put 5 in. I would probably do a skill spread of like 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 is going to be your just barely average, and that 5 is your excellent. Or you could kind of split around like 2, 2, that, but you got to have a max of 14. And then your special skill, being of this archetype, is Intimidate. So that'll go at the bottom of your skills. And then you'll pick some appearance, or you can make up your own. These are just some ideas. And then, like I say, you also get one talent that you're going to start off with. You get to kind of get some ideas of relationships to the other NPCs or whatever, what your dream is, and what gear you have, which is just some bullets you use as currency, some rations, and of grub and water. And then you get some starting weapons. The gearhead, so they're kind of like the mechanic in this. So they have the ability to jury-rig, so you can kind of make some scrap weapons and things. The Stalker, kind of like a ranger, you're able to kind of go out into the apocalyptic setting. So normally you're in the Ark, and then you're going to go out into what's called the Zone. And it's a dangerous area with rot, which is kind of like a radiation kind of strange thing that will happen to you. And then a whole bunch of strange creatures and phenomenon. So in here you get a couple different talents. You get Scavenger, Monster Hunter, Rot Finder. Get some gear. Get the Fixer. So they're kind of like find stuff. You can find grub, water, artifacts in the Ark. Yeah, you're kind of like the face of the party. If you want that, your key attribute is Empathy, Make a Deal. You got talents Wheeler Dealer, Vicious Creep, and Juicy Info. This is my solo character. I played the Dog Handler because I thought it would be kind of cool to, as I'm not going to play multiple characters, at least I don't think so. I'm going to start with just one person, and with the dog, I kind of get a little bit of help if I ever get into combat, which I've been pretty smart and not gotten into it. So I got, you get your typical name, a couple names for your dog. Your key attribute is Agility, and you get a special skill, Sick a Dog. So you basically can sick your dog on the opponent. And then there's different types of, so instead of you having talents in this, you're going to have some talents for your dog. So you have a Bloodhound, so he's good at tracking. A Fight Dog, you get like a +2 on combat. And Mutant's Best Friend, so he's going to help you out. Then you get the Chronicler. So they kind of go out and they're kind of recording all these things. They're going to know a little bit more than others maybe about the wastes. So your key attribute is Empathy, and you can inspire others. So you have Bonesaw, Agitator, or Performer. Bonesaw is kind of like a medic almost. You get a boss. So in here, you're going to have different bosses on the Ark. So you have like your main Elder, and then there's other people vying for power in that Ark to try to take over after he is supposed... Basically, it's the end of days for the Elder, and then you guys are kind of coming up into the world. So here you got your Wits, and you have the Command skill, and then you have some talents of Commander, Gunslinger, or Racketeer. You get your Grunt. Now, in the old game, it used to actually be called Slave, but then they had to get all sensitive and change it. I know it's... whatever, something that bothers people, but I think it's very different. I think if you want to go very Mad Maxian, Grunt just doesn't cut it. But, whatever floats your boat. Key attribute is Strength, and you have the ability to shake it off, which is kind of cool. You have a higher fortitude than others. You're a Cynic, a Rebel, or Resilient. Your special talents. Then you got your skills. So the skills in this game, you got Endure, so whenever you're kind of... the cold or heat or something like that, you're going to roll your Endure, which is Strength. And then you have Force, so that's a push or break something. Fighting is your Strength. Sneak plus your Agility to hide anywhere. Move is like to be able to, do acrobatic stuff. You got your Shooting ability. Scouting to kind of scout out the zone or kind of see what's over there. Comprehend, so that's, technologies and things like that. Know the zone. So as you go into these zones, you might run into like certain phenomenon. So if you know the zone, you'll be able to understand what's going on and maybe, take your party away from danger, or you might know something about a specific creature out there that'll help you in combat or avoiding combat. And then Sense Emotion, Manipulate, and Heal. So in this, you're going to roll some dice, and in order to do that, so basically if I have like say a 4 in Strength, I'm going to grab 4 die, And actually, before I get into the die, you're going to pick 3 different colors. You're going to want a color for your die. I don't have the specialty die, but I have the game, so it comes with some of the die, but not for skills. So I'm going to use this green die for that, and then your gear die. So we're not going to go into gear right now, but we're just going to say I'm going to force something open. So say I have a 2 in force, and then I have a 4 in strength, so I just roll those together. Blam! And if I get any 6s, I get a success. So I got 2 successes, 1 on my base die, whoops, and 1 on my skill. So I got 2 successes. All I need is 1 to pretty much do most things in the game. But actually, let me go back for a minute. So if I rolled, let's roll again on it. Oh, crap. Well, I got 1 success, so I don't want to re-roll this. But say I got no successes. If I got no successes, I can push my roll. And if I push my roll, that's the only time I count these hazard die. So there's no hazard die on the ones for the skill die. It's only on your base die or on your gear die. So if I do this, I'm going to push, and I can re-roll and try to get a success. I probably wouldn't want to with 2 of these here, because I'm going to take damage, but I'm also going to gain my mutation points, which I need to use my mutations. But whatever, let's just say I do that. I roll again. Oh, poo. So I got nothing. So I got no successes. I get 2 mutant points, and I also get 2 damage. And because it's a strength skill, I'm going to get 2 damage to my strength. But if I roll again, let's see if this works this time. Okay, so I got 1 success. I can also push my 1 success, even though I got 1. What if I want to, now I just have a success, but if I want to have a narrative success of maybe I do it faster or quicker or some kind of other bonus, I can still push. So I did push. I got 2 successes. So I did succeed, but I also got 1 damage to that skill, whatever I was doing. And I did gain a mutation point. So there is benefit to pushing, not only to succeed, of course, but you do want these mutation points, the 1s on your base die, so you can then use it to power your mutation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So yeah, you can either buy these dice, or you can just get a couple different colors. Or for me, I use the Dice app, and you can upload like these pictures of these into the app, and you can just roll on the app. It's a really cool thing. I'll have to link it below if I remember. So it just goes into pushing. I kind of explain that. Same thing. When you do push, if you push, if I'm using a gun, if I'm shooting, and I have the same... nothing, no successes. But if I get a 6 on that, then I get a success. That counts as success. But if I fail on my gear die, then I have a 1. If I have a 1 on my gear die, my gear takes damage. So all the gear gives you like a plus, say, 2 modifier to the roll. So you might have 2 dice or 1 dice. So every time I get a 1, it's going to drop that bonus until it gets 0. When it's 0, then it's broken until it can be repaired. So it just goes over pushing those mutations, which I talked about, your gear bonus. Some modifications if you want to, but typically it's just 1 success. And just kind of, what's the chance of that normal versus push if you're a statistics nerd? And then it just kind of goes over the opposed basic rolls, kind of what a stunt could be. So anything over 1 success is considered a stunt, and it kind of gives you a couple ideas for successes, for stunts, for failures, what kind of things those are, which is nice. But you don't need to. As a GM, you can just kind of make it up. It's pretty obvious what you could kind of do narratively to make it interesting. And then it just goes over into the specialist skills. So yeah, so for example, my character was a dog handler, so it gets the sick a dog. So the dog itself gets a strength of 4, agility of 6. It gets fighting ability that I can sick. My dog, it can scout, which gives me a bonus, and it can track, which gives me a bonus to tracking. It doesn't need its own food and water. It can just kind of find whatever, and it has sympathy. So for me, I can kind of cuddle up with my doggy there, and I can relieve some stress on that. So that's handy. So all my empathy damage, my doggy can handle. Yes. Kind of goes over some other things, some talents. So, for example, oh yeah, like the bone saw. That's pretty cool. Where'd he go? Oh, the bone saw. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. The Chronicles talent. The bone saw. You have learned the art of sawing bones and sewing skin. Okay, now reading that, now I really want to play one of those, but yeah, originally I just saw the doggo and I was like, I gotta be a dog. So pretty much everything is just like a +2 bonus. Most of the skills for the certain kind of talent you might have. Just kind of goes on and on. Different zones. Different talents. And then mutations. So you don't have to roll for a mutation. Well, you do and you don't. If you have a mutation die, then you just automatically perform your mutation. But you do have to roll to see if it misfires. But you don't have to roll to see if it succeeds. You just, you're going to roll one of your base die. So as long as you don't get a fail, a 1, then you're good. If you get a 1, then you're going to have a misfire, and then you can your powers might run amok. It might boost, actually. It might go worse. Or if you get a 6, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you get a 6, it gets supercharged. If you get a 1, then you get a new mutation. So you can actually get 1 or 2 mutations. But at the start of the game, you just get 1. And then you have the mutation list, which I rather roll, which I'm happy that they have a little rolling list. But you could choose if you wanted to, but where's the fun in that? So there's some cool mutations. You get like acid spit, amphibian, corpse eater, extreme reflexes, flame breather, four-armed, frog legs, human magnet, human plant, insectoid, insect wings, luminescence, man beast, mind terror, puppeteer, parasite, pathokinesis, pyrokinesis, reptilian, rot eater, sonar, spores, sprinter, telepathy, tracker, or you get to reroll. So I like human magnet, that's pretty cool, or insect wings. Whoa, too much. Get mind terror. My solo player, I never got to use it yet, but I got puppeteer, which is very cool. I get to kind of control others with my brain. Pyrokinesis. You get reptilian, you get some hide, basically hide armor, telepathy. And then conflict and trauma. So this goes over combat. Combat's really easy, like I just did. You just roll your base die. If I got a gun, I'm going to just roll my base die of agility, my shooting, and also my gun. Oh, so that's really bad. So I can just say no successes, because if I push it, I'm going to break my weapon. I'm going to get 2 mutation points, and I'm going to also take 2 damage there. So yeah, that is not a good idea to push. So yeah, you don't really want to push unless you have 0 ones, or if it's really critical. Like right now, if maybe I'm up against some final boss type creature, I might want to push this, see if I get a success. But even if I don't, I'm going to get 2 mutation points, which I might want to use to power up, my mutation, which I actually forgot to mention. Like you only need 1 die to do your mutation, but if you have 2 die, you're gonna have a greater chance of pushing, so you can get some mutations do damage. So then I would do extra damage with my mutation, but at the same time, I could get 2 1s, and then I'm on the mishap table, and then I have more trouble, which isn't good. So back into conflict. It talks over close combat. Same. It's basically the same. You're going to roll your dice. You get a 6. You do attack. If you get a 1, you fail, you can push it and try to get success. You can get some defensive things and modifications to your range, that kind of thing. Some types of damage. So damage and weapons are all, you don't need a large chart. It gives you enough to kind of take a guess. So like you get blunt instrument is any blunt instrument. You get a +1 damage or a +1 bonus to your roll. So 1 piece of gear, and then it does 1 damage. You get some bicycle chain, brass knuckles, scrap knife, baseball bat, bat with spikes, that kind of thing. You get ranged weapons, thrown rocks, slingshot, scrap pistol, flamethrower, that kind of stuff. You get some trauma. So here's your cover. So that's going to increase some armor. You do get fast and slow actions. So you get 1 fast action per turn and 1 slow. So your fast actions like aiming, dashing, that kind of thing. And then when you get a critical injury, so once you're broken, so if you have a strength of 4 and you've taken 4 hits to your strength, then you become broken. So you're, at 0, you're not dead, you're just broken. So then on there, you're going to roll your critical injury. And sometimes it doesn't really do much at all. So you could just lost your breath. So that's nothing. But you could have a crushed skull. So you would die instantly and will never see Eden, which you're kind of on the prowl for. You're trying to find the mythical Eden where everything is just milk and honey, and you'll be fine, and you don't have to live on your crappy ark. You got conditions, so if you're starving, so you have to take 1 ration. Dehydrated, you got to take 1 water a day, or you're gonna have a condition. If you have a condition, then it's gonna cause penalties on your roll. Sleepless, so you got to sleep at least 4 hours per day. Hypothermic, so cold and things like that are going to cause some damage. And then you got other types of conditions like boozing it up, darkness, what that does, explosions, which are very scary in the Year Zero engine game because, say, a blast like a grenade, I think has like 7 base dice of damage. So every time it hits a 1, then it does like a base damage on top of that. You get some vehicles in here. You can do some vehicle combat, which is pretty same thing as like people combat. You just have like a base attribute. You roll that. You do like you can do some ramming and things like that, or driving. Here's your arc. So you're going to be some kind of cool place. You can kind of make your own. It gives you a couple ideas for some type of arc. Could be like an airplane wreck, a bridge, farm, old gated community, which I used, junkyard, mall, oil rig, prison, scrap village, shelter, shipwreck, skyscrapers, small island, subway stadium, or trailer park. You kind of put where it is in there, what kind of elder you have, who are the bosses on there, and some boss types. So you could be some like a despot. And then you're going to want to develop your arc. So that's kind of the missions in here. So you're going to want to increase your food supply. You're going to want to go out and find things and bring them back. The culture, technology, warfare to defense. So here's like an example of kind of like this cruise ship that ran aground, beached cruise ship. So you're going to have lots of cool projects to do. Or you can skip all that if you want and just kind of do whatever, kind of GM Fiat. So there's like a list of projects you could do and kind of what benefits it gives to that adventuring party. So you could have some defense. You could form a hunting party. So like if the Ark is on the brink of starvation, the people can resort to desperate measures, cannibalism. And that has like a requirement, what level of whatever you need to do. So right here, like museum, you need a culture level of 5. So you need to bring back magazines and books to raise that. But for cannibalism, you don't need anything. Skills, fighter, manipulate, work points, dev bonus. You get food supply plus 3d6. But your culture goes down d6. And then these specials, special increase the session body count. So there's like some kind of adventure hooks that can be pulled off some of these. So here's like a scrap fortress, think Mad Max. So if you want to use this system to kind of raise up the culture or raise up your arc to get it more interesting, more interesting stuff, you can raise up your arc, or you can kind of skip that and kind of play it as you wish. You don't have to use this kind of long mechanic of building up your empire. You can just kind of roam the wastelands if you want to. But you can, as a GM, you can have these attacks against the arc, which is kind of interesting. So kind of as a battle result and how to... so your resolution, when battle starts, each side rolls a number of base die equal to the battle level. So as you have different defenses and things like that, you're going to have like a certain level to kind of defend your arc with. But the really cool part about this, I didn't really dig that part so much, but I didn't get into it. I only was able to get into zone travel a lot, so I wanted to go out and explore. So it comes with 2 ideas, and if you go to the website, then there's 2 PDFs you can use. So one is the Big Smoke, which is kind of like England. So you have like a Big Ben on there and stuff like that. And then the other one is like the New York kind of. They have the Dead Apple. And most of the swamp is taken over again. So it just talks about zone travel, exploring. So it's like one tile is like 4 hours to explore. And it's only like 1 mile. So a lot of it is because it's just a wasteland and it takes so long to travel through this maze of forest or scrap or whatever. But the main mission, typically in the game, is you're going to want to find scrap and stuff to bring back or artifacts and things like that to build up your base. But like I say, you can kind of play it where you're just exploring the wasteland and trying to survive. Either way. So you will find some artifacts, some scrap, and there's lots of tables in the back. And there's also rot. So it's like, it's not really specifically saying what it is. It's just a lingering effect of the ancient's weapon. So it's like some kind of radiation or thing like that. So every zone you go into, you're going to have like 0, 1 rot. So you gain like 1 point every day. So if it ever goes over your attribute, then you're going to get sick. Yeah, so every time you suffer a rot point, you must immediately roll a number of base die equal to the total amount of rot points. For every 1 you roll, you suffer 1 point of damage. You have a rot suit, which can protect you from that. And then once you get back to the arc, you're going to want to try to decontaminate yourself, or you're going to have permanent rot points. Talks about some ideas for, as a game master, how you can play this. Just gives you some general ideas of how to run it. And then it talks about the fun part, going into the zone. So you got some random events. What's in the arc, what's in the zone. So those are basically some plot hook points. Gives you a really nice typical NPC stats. And then it gives you random generation of NPCs. So if you want to if you're running solo, you can grab some people. Or you can just kind of roll. If you're not sure what kind of character people want to be, you could kind of use this to make random PCs and then just have the people assign attributes. But this would give you basically 6 different types of characters per archetype with some goals and stuff. Here's some threats against the arc, so you can kind of roll on the table. You get things like the Hunger, Killing Machine, Mutant Messiah, Missing Persons, Lost Treasure, Revolution, Starfall. So it's probably like a satellite you're going to go find. So it gives you a lot of stuff you can really kind of get hooks with and kind of plan a general adventure. Just enough to kind of get an idea in your head and then just run with it. Then basically creating the zone. So it's kind of like a hex crawl almost. So you'll kind of roll a D66 type of environment. So you got like scrublands, deadwoods, huge crater, glassified field, overgrown ruins, crumbling ruins, decayed ruins, blah, 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 and on and on and on. If you get ruins, then they have all kinds of like hospital, marina, museum, suburbia, or some industry like factories and things. Rot level, threats in the zone, human, monster, phenomenon. And then for humanoid, another D66. For monsters, a D66. And for phenomenon, a D66. So there's a lot of just, you don't need to prep anything with this. That's what I really loved it. And then they even have like an additional kind of mood element. So there could be some wanderers, a camp, a crevice, I don't know how to speak, birds, flock of small zone birds suddenly take in the air. Did something startle them? So more flavoring on that zone area. So you can just have one little hex and do so much inside of it, which is really cool. So once you roll on there, then you can kind of come to, they kind of set it up in the book where all the roll tables are here, then additional chapters kind of give you the details so of the normal ruins, kind of shows you school, hunting store, kind of gives you all that. The threats, so these are all the animals that we just kind of rolled up, or phenomenon. You got a beast mutant. Nova cultists, cannibals. So these are when you're doing the know the zone. So it's what kind of bonus you might get when you try to understand the threat that you're up against. Usually it's like a plus minus 0.2 or plus minus 2 automaton. Killer tree, razorback, zone leeches, zone rats. So a lot of these pictures are in that game, the Zone Wars game, and a lot of these, a lot of this stuff in the book is in the game. So it's a nice synchronization they have. So here's for the phenomena. You got like temperature drop, zone smog, vacuums, and then your artifacts. So these are all post or pre-apocalyptic things. Like you can find batteries. You can find a katana. That's always cool. A katana, revolvers, scooters, a tuxedo, a soda can. So all these kind of play into finding the artifacts and bringing them back to your arc and increasing the level. So these are all going to kind of increase those different levels. Chainsaw, jerry can, revolver, scooter. Get some other artifacts like machine guns and bicycles and stuff. And then here's the special zone sectors. So there's actually 5 little mini adventures in here that you can play. I'm not going to go into those. They're all pretty cool. So I'm working my solo game, and I'm going to be hopefully getting to these special zones. So you can kind of play these wherever you want in there. You can add one, add them all, or add none as you kind of go hex crawling. You can use these as like special areas. Rust Castle, that's pretty cool. You got maps of those. Path to Eden. This is kind of the meta plot of the game, if you want to use it or not. And it kind of tells you about that history of kind of what's going on. It's very secret. Don't let your players know about it. And then at the end of the book, the best part of all, the amazing, super amazing, once I get to it. Where is it at? Oh, it's actually a little bit more. It's past the index. It's so cool. Some gear and services. Here it is. The scrap table. D666 scrap table. And number 111, action figure, He-Man. But you got a lot of cool little scrap that you can find throughout the zone that don't do anything but are just cool. Maybe you can trade them. Who knows? Dumbbell, electric guitar broken, electric mixer, extension cord, skeleton face mask, Donald Duck face mask. Don't tell Disney you put that in there. Water pistol, t-shirt, toothbrush, all kinds of towel marked the Sheridan. That's pretty cool. And here's your character sheet. Very simple, very easy to use. They also give you a couple other sheets, black and white. You get like people you've met, projects on the arc, and then kind of coordinates for all the zones that you're going to go to. So yeah, that is Mutant Year Zero. It's super cool. If you like Mutant Year Zero engine, if you like Free League, or if you like post-apocalyptic games, or if you like all those three, then you should totally check out Mutant Year Zero. I recommend it. Rocket punch! Later.